Now they say a day outside of Kerry is a day wasted. And the whiskey that we're going to look at today is from County Kerry, down in the very south of Ireland. This whiskey distillery just sits just before Valencia Island and is named after one of the most famous islands of Ireland, Skellig. It's a single pot still Irish whiskey, which is the traditional style of making Irish whiskey, using malted and unmalted barley with some other oats in there and triple distilling them in copper pot stills. Now this whiskey comes from the Skellig 618 distillery, and that name comes from the 618 steps that were carved into the Skellig rock by monks in the 6th century, and this whiskey is part of their 618 Step Collection. It is a limited release whiskey. Down at the distillery they're currently distilling their own gin with pot stills for single pot still Irish whiskey, ready to go in any day now, which will be amazing. It's a beautiful location right down on the Atlantic coast. But in the meantime, they have brought out this whiskey. This is sourced whiskey just to keep us all occupied until they have their own delicious stuff. This is a triple distilled single pot still Irish whiskey, and it is triple casked as well. So we have a bourbon cask, we have a Pedro Ximénez Sherry cask, and then we also have a peated cask. So that peated cask has had peated whiskey in it previous to this whiskey, so a portion of this whiskey was rested in that peated cask, so that should bring a little smoke or peated element to the overall whiskey. So let's get cracking. Box fresh bottle of whiskey. Gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta rate that pop. Nice. Here, that didn't want to come out of there for a second. Oh, delicious. Lovely. On the aroma, you get that classic pot still characteristic, a wee bit of spice in there, and the ever so slightest amount of peat in there. It is very, very, very light. On the palate straight away, I get like dehydrated pineapple. You know, you would eat that, wouldn't you? Yeah, I would eat that anyway, like a bag of dehydrated pineapple. Just like chewy pineapple, that sort of like candied tropical fruit note coming through, alongside the classic single pot still element of that bacon spices. It is very well balanced, and that smoke is just ever so slightly there. I would almost go to say that it would be very, very hard to pull out if it wasn't written on the label. Like complexity to it overall, that tropical, like sort of like dried pineapple is probably my favorite note out of it all. There is that toasted oak coming through there, and that extra ABV being 43% or 86 proof. Carries that Pedro Ximénez cask just a wee bit at the end with some raisins and nuts. It just holds onto the palate after all those other stages of flavour have come through. It's actually quite a cool thing about this whiskey is this was matured down in their distillery warehouse, which is on the Atlantic coast. So they say that this has been Atlantic aged. As a person, can you just say that you have been Atlantic aged? Because I think that would be pretty cool. What would I be? Lock aged. It will be great when the pot stills go into Skellig 618 distillery, just adding to the tapestry that is Irish whiskey distilleries at the minute. But in the meantime, we have some cracking whiskey to keep us company. So yeah, let's launch it. Cheers.